My invincible phoenix child friend. Tell me, what are some of the gifts of Priestess I Am?
I've been thinking about this for a few days, and I think that it's such a art that you're like bringing to the planet, Dani, because it's the art of conserving yourself. That's something that is a concept that I don't even know that the world knows that we're missing, in that, especially as givers, especially as holy women, it's so written in our code to just overgive and to meet needs and to not love ourselves first and foremost. And so much, it's so deep in our society that we don't even know how to do it. Even if we're like, oh, I love myself, and really deep down, I already know, and that they're like, I don't even know if I'm doing it right. You know what I mean? So, and usually we're not, because we're not trained this. Our ancestors, our mothers, our grandmothers, as far back as we can look on the planet, it's just been what women do. And so to really have gotten myself to a place of where it was so necessary for me to own my power and use my own medicine for myself, and to really there's a word that wants to come through for it, but it's like to radiate, for something to radiate the heat, like how long it takes for the sun to get into that rock, right? Like, it's like if you just put it out there and it gets wet, it doesn't. It's like the energy depletes and we just get so depleted. But when you really have a radiator, something that's really radiating energy, and in that way, it comes from conserving it. And I don't know that I would have ever known that if I didn't meet you, Dani.
Oh, yeah, and like to put it in some other terms, it's like I love when you bring these new terms. I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought of that way. And this conserving, and it's so interesting because a spiritual teacher that I follow, she just posted a YouTube where she's like, we have to be like the camel and conserve the water, like conserve the light. And yes, we share it when we can, when we have, reserves and resources to do so. And we have to fill ourselves up first. It's that old adage that we hear so long. And it's like what I've really seen in your journey that has been so beautiful as the warrioress, sorceress, love beam that you are, is like, oh yeah, let me shore up all this energy and actually bring it back to myself, resource myself, and then be really discerning around where I pour it into the world. So I'm not pouring it just on rocks where it falls off, but I'm pouring it in deep soil that can soak it in and actually bloom from that light and create reciprocity, you know?
Yeah, it's true alchemy, to go from a different state of being into that. And also, it's so amazing because you didn't do it for us. There's just, I could cry about your integrity, Dani. You know that. Like, it's just so touching to me. It means so much to me because I've been through so many different places and so many unsafe and persecuting situations. And, we spoke about that in the beginning, about my concerns about that. And so to really be held by you and to really feel like, to know it, like to have that knowing of that you've got this, that you've created this sacred container for us to show up for ourselves and to do the work. And then when we all do it, to have that power to then radiate through. I mean, there's just nothing better. There's just nothing better, that could happen. But I feel that I've crossed into a new realm in my journey of living, because that just goes back so far of just having been let down, right, by people holding space. And then the super beautiful part was what I was gifted, is that no one really needs to hold space for us, is that Mama Gaia can hold space for us, and that you don't have to go blurt and trauma dump and give everybody the dirty details for them to help you process it. So I felt super held by you, and I felt super seen, which is a big deal. And then also to have the freedom to also not just depend on you, but to depend on the way, whatever the way is, and just to know that that was going to show up by me showing up and showing up for me, and that it just feels so. It feels like metal, it feels so solid, like steel, or, like that's this, if I can describe to people that are considering working with you, is that like, I don't know that people understand the benefit of being truly held in a safe container. And, it's priceless.
Excuse me while my heart melts, 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 melts,
I
melts.
had like one tear, like just.
And you know what, Shannon, is so yummy right now is you had asked in one of the temple spaces, and you were just curious. You're like, Dani, what's your definition of sovereignty? And I feel like you just nailed it on the head. And it's like, there's eh, my job is not to do the work for anybody. It's to remind everyone around me that the power is in themselves and just show like, hey, here's how you access it. Here's how you expand it. Here's how you protect it. Here's how you love it. Here's how,
Mhm.
and do those things. So to have you reflect it in that way to me, I'm just like, thank you for seeing me.
Yeah, like I said, I get these visions of you, and I hope it's not creepy that I'm saying that, but I do, it's there.
Astral stalking. No, I'm just kidding. I love it so much.
There's even like this filter over it, almost like, a picture that's in a portrait, and you're like, oh, he looks so happy. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the realm of what these visions are like. Like it's like you're just, a vision, and in these visions, you're such a pillar of light. Yeah, you're just such a pillar of light and a beacon, and in that way to feel like I'm in it with you, not, you know, is that, I don't know. I don't think I have words for that, but that's where light language comes in.
They're just like, I don't show that like Yamanai.
Yeah,
Yeah. We walk together.
Yes. Yes. And in that way, I feel it. And so as me of being a knower, and you're a knower too. So as being a knower, and then to know that we really are in this, and to know the powerful women, and to know the call, right? Like this is really happening, right? We're not just pretending or practicing now. Like this is happening.
So on that note, let me ask you, Shannon, what does the word priestess mean to you? What does that priestess archetype represent for you?
Like as coming through all of it, what I feel is that women are meant to be in the center of spiritual understanding. Period. Like that's just it. Like that's the only way that it works, and it's absurd that the feminine energy has the platform in which that we have to speak about holy things, right? And so like the priestess is the one that's bringing all into one harmony, right? The priestess understands the masculine priest. The priestess understands it all, gets the whole world of it, but the priestess is also here to make a stand for sovereign, sacred, holy living. Not in a way of like religion, in a way of like, you can still say fuck.
In fact, I feel like that's your tagline from Priestess I Am, which is like, I am now unfuckwithable. I am now unfuckwithable. Hear me roar.
Yes. And so it's I guess the last part would be this. So I just side note, I went to a revival yesterday, which was crazy. It's been a long time since I've been in church for that very reason. Because the voice is so needed and not there, right? The goddess is like not currently there, right? And so in going there and really seeing like just being an observer of what it is that what is truly missing is the piece that people don't understand, that we are the temple, So to me, if I could really if I could write a dictionary thing of what a priestess is, it's a sovereign woman that knows that she is the temple.
Chills. Yum. Thank you
Mhm.
for that, Shannon. I feel like let's just let that truth soak in.
I know. It's like, oh.
Yum. So as you think of some of these like highlights, as you've become that sovereign temple, that is in neutrality, that is in non-judgment, that's just, in observance and also in deep love. Like, what are some high point moments or big shifts that have occurred for you in your way of being where you're like, whoa, I'm doing the work and it's paying off. Like it has paid off.
Mm. Definitely, when we had the one-on-one about, where you just intuitively picked up that I had a hole in my temple of light. And then just you bringing your awareness there, I was like, "Oh my goodness," I could feel it, and it was this whole cave that I had just left open behind me, and so all of the gargoyles and things from the darkness, could just come right up to me, and it explains so much, about my life that then I immediately, it was so like, I think that whole session we had, the whole time I had full body chill bumps of just truth, of just like, it was like my central channel was like pouring in new data. And to have that, you encouraged me to have a ceremony with sweetgrass, which I had been holding earlier that day. That I'm just twirling around. What do I do with the sweetgrass? You know, and to have that ceremony, and then really kind of since that day, I've just constantly been doing maintenance on my whole temple of the space of it and sealing it up. So to feel that conserving, like to feel where I had a drain before and I wasn't able to just get there, kind of like, you can't climax or something like that. I wasn't really able to get there. And also feeling shame and guilt about that. Like, why is this not happening? And then to find out, well, it might be because you have a drain that's just going out, you're not conserving it. And so to then move into right into just sacred work of that. It was really cute because I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even know. I left the door open. And it's just kind of funny because I tend to do that. Like people are like, why did you leave the cabinet open? Or why did you leave this open?
Chills.
And so it's like it wasn't just there. And I think that had a lot to do with my collective thinking. Like all everything is within me. Everything is within me, and so it's almost like I had that backwards of like the collective thinking, and it was killing me. It was taking me down. It was taking me out. So then to say, no, we're closing down for construction. We have mandatory maintenance that needs to take place here. And then just to like, even all the way down to the point that it was in my logo, like you just intuitively picked it up. Like my logo actually has gaps. And so it's in the process of being sealed like the rest of it. And then there's just this piece that's come from doing that because I'm not concerned with the collective. I'm now understanding that, and it's like I knew this stuff, but now it's embodied, if that makes sense. Like I knew that all the healing I could ever do it with for someone is hold a space for them, and then they have to receive that, right? However, because I was feeling so, leaky and energetically and octopusy is kind of what it feels like. And it was like stretched out in that way, then I would that it would affect me. I was integrating and getting feedback from different situations that didn't deserve to um have that sacredness on them right then because they hadn't made it through these initiations or we hadn't come to these certain agreements and lacking honor. Basically that's all that it is. It's just lacking the honor in these interactions with everybody really, but mostly myself.
Yes, yes, yes. And what we say so often, right, is this through us for all, through
Mhm.
us for all, through us for all, knowing that as we consecrate ourselves as the temple, more light, more love can stream in a really grounded way that then actually does benefit the collective, right?
Mhm.
And so
Indeed.
that's so beautiful. I'm so glad your temple is under mandatory construction and coming out. And I know it's like, I feel like the vision I get is that it's like there was an old museum, maybe like on a street, and now I'm coming on the street and it's like new, and I'm like, oh, what is this fancy new museum? It's like your new fancy temple. Like, oh, look at that. Look what she did there. Oh, that was a nice paint color choice. Oh, that's a nice statue.
Well,
So
it's so
beautiful.
true, because also remember we talked about that I said people look at me differently, and I could tell that it has something to do with my light. Like, they're having some kind of moment with the divine and people are drawn to me. But it was an uncomfortable feeling, and I didn't know if it was something in me or with them or what the whole thing was. But now that you just us talking about it now, of like looking back, it was because they weren't looking at me maybe, and I had an opening. You know what I mean? Like I had an opening to where it was like, oh, you could just come right in, you know what I mean? And so in
Free
that
for
way,
all.
right. So
Fill up
now
your 7-Eleven big slushy.
I feel that people are looking at me and responding to me in a more honorable way, because I feel like I'm occurring that way and I'm claiming that for myself.
Mm.
And so it's so beautiful because it's not like I'm just doing it for me. It almost feels like I feel so honored that maybe I almost did bankrupt myself that much. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, wow, now that I get it right this way, I'm always going to care about them, but it has to be sustainable and be a win-win-win. And so again, that comes down to integrity, Dani. You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to know. I think of integrity like a trampoline, and if you like to go over here and some of those hooks are kind of undone, you can tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Collapse in, you know what I mean? And so, to be able to say like, no, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and this is for the reason. And plus everything was just so tied up, beautiful and delicious, and in this beautiful package and bow, and the music and your music, and it's just artful.
I'm so supremely honored. I'm so supremely honored to have gone through this experience with you, because we had a relationship before where we honored and loved each other. And now it's just like on a whole nother level that we get to experience each other as sister priestesses, walking shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, womb to womb, and really staking light here in this world. And so we are continuing on. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. You're coming into ancient remembrance. So ancient remembrance, for people that don't know, begins July 30th. It's a 4-week sacred space for light language to be catalyzed and normalized, opening the sacred channel of light language, of intuitive singing, etc. And I'd love to hear from you, Shannon. Why did you say yes to that journey? Because you're in.
Well, I know I have to come out of the closet, and it's just fun to do with other people. I'm just kidding.
Seriously.
Oh, it really is. It really is,
True.
So I feel that, I mean, I'm just pretty much down for whatever you're doing right now. So I kind of feel like, you know what I mean? I was like, so plus the ancient knowing of, I already knew about light language and I already was using it, but still have much fear around it because it scares so many people. And
Mhm.
that kind of triggers some deep fears in me, because that's kind of like, that's probably like the core wound that I have, is like that I want to love humanity and then they want to stone me. You know what I'm saying? So right, so then to
Just a
go,
casual witch wound. It's fine.
yeah. So now I'm just gonna start coming out and speaking my own language here to you guys. That's really powerful. You know what I'm
Right?
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, hey, I just know that it's time. And I feel like you're being guided on this, that it's just right on time, it's divine time, and it's so needed in our world. And I get these visions about this, you doing this in large groups, and I know the coherence that happens when we can bypass the mind. And if we can bypass the mind, and that we could just access pure frequential high frequency medicine, that is the return, that is the next paradigm, that's the golden age, it's the thing that we've all been waiting for, and so it's just the pouring in of new data is the way that I view light language. So to
Mm.
be somebody that is in alignment with you and to be in alignment with me already doing that and knowing that we're being guided and we're not doing it just for shock value, that we're doing it for these honorable, sacred, aligned reasons. It's like, what else would you want to do with your time?
Amen, sister. Amen, sister. So
Yeah.
speaking of light language, we're going to shift into a light language activation soon here. I have one last question for you, and that's just any final words on how you would describe working with me for those that are maybe considering?
I just hear right now safe, seen, and sacred.
Mm, I
Safe,
think
seen,
just
and sacred.
thank you. I just want to say that 3 times together. I feel like that's a mantra for all of us. As soon as you said that, I felt so much meltiness. And as you know, Shannon knows this, there's been just chainsaws and noise outside all morning, and Wednesdays are my morning for like all my meetings. So it's just been such a test today. So I just want to say it 3 times: safe,
Safe,
seen, sacred. Safe,
safe,
seen,
seen, sacred.
sacred. Safe, seen, sacred. Ah, ooh, Shannon, thank you for bringing that through as a mantra for us all to hold today. Yeah.
And I wanted to say that it wasn't just about you and the container that you were holding, it was really about the women that you called in also. And so I really needed this group. I really needed the support. We all needed the support in this very specific knowing kind of
Mm,
way. Not like, hey, I got your back, girl, or oh, we weren't having these like, complaint sessions. We didn't really get into at all our specific situations as much as the specific thing that we wanted to create. And that's the wave of the future, right? The past is already gone. And so if we're not creating the future, what are we doing? Right. And so to be able to be with such powerful women that are like here to show up to create powerful change on the planet, it's been such a gift. Such a gift.
preach, preach. I mean, the sisterhood beyond. I mean, that's what I love about these types of containers when you can find the ones that are like have a solid kind of energy where like there's a certain texture of soul that's going to show up and is ready and ripe for the journey, and it's orchestrated by the divine. It's not even like in the human realms. It's like everyone was at different places on their journey, and yet it was all needed to make the perfect medicine for us all to awaken in our own way. And I'm so honored to be one of those stewards. And like I had a similar experience on a pilgrimage I went on in Scotland. It was like I had never felt so much love in a group prior to that trip. And it was just like you said, it's because we came together in such honor, reverence, devotion, and then spoke about what are we creating? What are we embodying? What are we imbuing into the world that we wish to birth?
Mhm.
So thank you for bringing that up as well. Like, and just so much love to all the sisters watching this. Mwah! We love you.
That is what the priestess is. That is what a priestess is. A priestess is that one that transmutes that. One that transmutes and creates what it is. But there's the purity there. You know, not many people care about the purity like you and I do. And so for those women out there that matters, this is for you. This is for you.
Mm. Ah, shall we go into our light language?
Yes.
We'll go into a little mini activation and just thank you so much for all of your insights. I feel like there was such medicine and truth that came through you today that I get to take with me for the rest of my day and my journey. And I just love you so dearly. And so, with that, let's take a nice deep breath. Taking a nice deep breath. Calling all the consciousness back to the body, soaking in the light codes, Mirakiera Kushanai, sealing them in with this golden light, Musorokona Trakiere, and a golden infinity symbol, Mish Sorokona Trakie, Saltakiara Ma'ai. And one more deep breath. Then opening your eyes when you're ready. Mm. Mm. And I'd love to I'd love to hear how that was for you, that mini activation.
Well, right at the end there, I had the cutest little puffer blowfish, like, just came up, just gave me like a kiss, just right here. It was just like, which made me giggle because also, one thing that I've noticed that I just kind of wanted to talk to you about is that what I love, one of the many things that I love about you is that you own your power so much, but then you laugh about the ridiculousness of the truth of it. You know what I mean? And so, like, I, as I've always before this, I've been like, I'm just going to say it and I'm just blurting it out. And then I'm like, I act like a martyr when I get the blowback from it, you know? And so then now I've been like, kind of, being more conservative and reserving my voice and things like that, but also seeing things diplomatically from other people's point of view. And there was one time I was on the call and I knew people that were never, they were just regular people, could never understand what in the world we're doing. You know what I mean? Could hear some of the stuff. And then right when one of the girls was like, well, I didn't hear it from that, but I did hear from a mermaid. So it's like, it's so funny to laugh about it because it's like, rather than, this is where the pragmatic, I'm so practical like that too, to marry it with it, right? Because it's like, oh, a blowfish just came and kissed me on the lips, and now I've got rainbow wings, and I just heard from a mermaid. Like, it's funny.
That's the thing, it's like, there's so much that's beyond the conditioned mind, and it's like, we have to honor all of it, and there is so much power, and we have to laugh at how ridiculously small specks we are in the absurdity of existence. Like, we know and we do not know, you know?
Nobody knows.
Oh, so let me wrap with this. So we
Yeah.
have another sister hopping on any moment now, but what would you say your experience is in receiving light language from me to help people understand like why get a light language activation? Like what does it help you? How does it aid you?
Oh, I've got a great answer for this. So I'm a nerd, okay, and I already in my private practice, I biohack people and help them reprogram their subconscious mind, and I do that with frequential medicine by upgrading the frequency of the fields. So there's many ways to do that. They say laughter is the best medicine. Even Jesus would say, say my name and there shall I be, right? And so I have many different ways in which I do that. But you have to have the adapter to communicate to people, and then they have to understand the science of what you're doing because, it's just kind of wild to just upgrade the frequency on people. It's kind of like changing the station on the radio. And unless they understand the science of it, and if they do, they're totally on board. But most people don't have the bandwidth to, really move through that, especially in a time that they're needing support. So I feel like when I'm receiving light language from you, I'm like in awe of presence that it works. Right? Because I'm like, it really works. Like I would be the first skeptical person to be like, that was really beautiful, Dani, and I just loved it when you went, you know what I mean? But it was like, no, it's really, really changing the frequency of it. And in that way, it's like there's something about that, it's a constant flow of pure light, right? And so in that pure light, to receive that, it's a wonder. It's wondrous. It's wondrous of what's taking place, because it like settles my mind and my nerd, to like, I'm not trying to figure out what you're trying to do or what's happening. I'm just allowing it and letting it be what it is. And it feels like it's just changing the airways. And so as it's changing the airways of knowing that frequency is the wave of the future of how we heal our physical body, our mental body, our ancestral bodies, right? And so P-body is going to be through frequential medicine. So upon receiving that, it's I mean, it's hypnotic. It feels like, I'm in a deep meditative state and nobody's looking, and I'm just energetically getting spun around. Sounds fun to me.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
Because you do it's like it's almost like I think about it like there's so many different vast impacts of frequency and uplifting the vibration. And one of them is I just feel like it's like go through the washing machine. And when we
Mhm.
go through the car wash or we go through the washing machine, it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm at a higher vibration. Now am able to access higher consciousness. I'm able to connect more deeply with myself. I'm able to like go about my day in a way where I wasn't able to before, where it's going to be smoother, it's going to be more easeful because life is flowing through me. Would you agree, or what words would you use as like who you are post session?
Well, absolutely, because what it feels like is that, as it's a light show for me. So I'm literally seeing like aurora, templates that are kind of coming up and feeling the heat. Like just a minute ago, I'm having like some sweat just dripping down my arm, and I'm in an air conditioning room. So it's like there is a biochemical reaction that's taking place. And if you're tuned into your body and feeling that, you could feel the shift happening in real time. But then for me to like just be so lifted when I leave, and so as I'm so lifted, it feels like, it's an upgrade. It's just an upgrade. A
Well said.
super califragilistic upgrade.
Right? And I'm like, let me upgrade just.
Let me upgrade you.
Let me upgrade you. And I say that not by me upgrading you, it's like we upgrading ourselves. So with that, my divine sister, I love you so much.
So much. I'm so grateful
Thank
for.
you for
Thank you.
sharing your energy, your insight, your wisdom, your reflections. And we are